Devils versus the New York Rangers. Round one of the Stanley Cup playoffs. It doesn't get much better than that. What is going on, hockey fans? My name is Neil Villapiano. I'm the host of the Devil's State of Mind podcast right here on the Hockey Podcast Network. And welcome to this live. You guys are checking this out live either on our YouTube channel, Hockey Podnet, or on the Devil's State of Mind podcast Twitter at Devil's State. We are live. We are going to be previewing the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. This matchup, another matchup of the Hudson River rivalry between the New York Rangers and the New Jersey Devils. And joining me on this live preview, we are excited to welcome on three guys from the Rangers Ed podcast. We are joined by Little Ed, Cousin Ed, and the coach himself, Coach Ed. Gentlemen, how are we doing this evening?
What's up,
Neil?
Thank you so much, buddy, for setting this up. We're really excited to talk a little playoff hockey here. And, hopefully any Ranger fans out there, check out our podcast, man.
Yes, please do. Make sure to check them out. They do a great job, tremendous content. They do an absolutely fantastic job. Andy, a.k.a. Front Row Productions, what up? Says, what up, Neil? What is going on, Andy? Thank you for hanging out with us. Wondering if you're going to be in AC at all, especially during these playoffs. You can throw some money down, considering your Washington Capitals did not make it this year. So now you have to cheer for some other team in the playoffs this year. We got Sophie Pens saying, let's go Devils. All right, so we got at least one Devils fan in the chat. We thank everybody for jumping in, and we'll probably get some more people as we go along. But let's kind of start with this, basically. So how did we get to this point? Well, let's start with the New York Rangers. The Rangers came in after last season, going all the way to the conference finals and falling just short to the Tampa Bay Lightning. They come into this year with very high expectations. They got off to a pretty solid start, and then they made two massive trades at the deadline, first acquiring Vladimir Tarasenko from the St. Louis Blues, and then pulling off arguably the biggest and I'd say, honestly, easiest trade of the entire deadline, acquiring Patrick Kane from the Chicago Blackhawks for very little. And now the New York Rangers go into the first round against their hated rivals in the New Jersey Devils. And how did the Devils get here? Well, nobody expected the Devils to not only, I think most people would say that they didn't expect the Devils to make the playoffs and certainly would not have the type of season that they did this year. Well over 100 points, new franchise record for that, new franchise record for wins in a season. Jack Hughes with an unbelievable year. Little Ed is not enjoying my all right now.
Keep going.
It's so much, Vitek Vanacek, first goalie other than Marty Brodeur to win 30-plus games in a season. Really strong defensive core, and just Lindy Ruff went from Devils fans cheering fire Lindy to Devils fans cheering sorry Lindy in a matter of days. A crazy 13-game winning streak. All of that just comes together for the Devils to finish third overall in the NHL, third overall in the Eastern Conference, and will play, as I mentioned, the aforementioned New York Rangers in round number one. So let's kick things off with asking you guys one by one. Doesn't matter who goes first. Just overall, what are your thoughts of how the Rangers did throughout the regular season?
Little Ed, you start.
Okay. I think obviously the biggest thing that happened in the season is my boy Trouba right here behind me. Shout out to Oscar Pro Stitch Hockey for the beautiful jerseys behind me and Coach Ed.
You like Cousin Ed, you have a lingering jersey curse that every player he gets a jersey of gets traded or injured and hurts the Rangers team. You want to change things up?
Funny that we do this and I hear the jersey, Cousin Eddie's jersey curse, like nonsense. I get, so Tennessee Meg, shout out to Tennessee Meg and Suitor Sweet Treats, sends me a Filipino cookie.
Oh my gosh.
The cookie breaks in half in transit. It is currently in plastic, broken in half. And I sent you guys the image and Little Ed texted and he's like, oh my God, it's broken. And then within minutes, Heedle signed a 4-year extension at a very reasonable cap hit. We were worried about that, what he was going to cost after a 20-goal year, $4.375 million AAV. So Little Ed, as the commissioner of my jersey curse, isn't that the end of the jersey curse? Can I buy a freaking jersey now?
Yeah, you could buy a Heedle jersey.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think you're safe to buy a Heedle jersey. Yeah, I think Oscar. I think we're safe. I think the jersey curse is semi-broken, and we could officially at least test it on
Heedle.
a viable player. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
you
we're
got
gonna-
the cookie broke. It's not the jersey, so that's not officially the curse.
Yeah,
Well, it's like the
part of the
Johan
curse was like
Santana.
the
Oh,
the
right. Yeah,
Santana
yeah.
ornament. There was a few
Gotcha.
other instances
So I got
where
a Santana or
random
Johan
happened
Santana
like-
ornament from Hallmark, and it broke on the elbow in transit. So when I opened it for Christmas, it was literally broken. I had to crazy glue the arm to the elbow. It was like an in motion lefty throw, right? And yeah, he then blew out his
A year
elbow
later.
that season. No, that season he blew out his elbow, and
Well,
he
the
never was
play-
the
it's
same.
not-
His career
He was
ended.
never the
Season's
same
not over
again.
yet. There's one more game.
But yeah, I think the turning point obviously was the big helmet throw. Things looked a little dark in the beginning of the season. Did not look like the Rangers were gonna come out hot like we expected them to after the long playoff run last year, and things looked a little ugly. And then they obviously turned it around big and had probably one of the highest winning percentages since that point in the entire league, and obviously finished where they finished at third. Came up short a little bit in the Metro, but it was a very tight race up until the end.
Yeah. I mean, I think, after last year reaching the Eastern Conference Finals, that was unexpected. I kind of feel like the Rangers last year were in a position that the Devils are in this year, kind of ahead of schedule on most analysts' perspectives. Everyone could see the Devils are heading in this direction. It's a little early for most people, I think, to expect this. And they were able to surprise a couple teams with, got lucky with some injuries with Crosby and some goaltending injuries and made a deep run, got some experience for the kids. So I think going into this season, you never want to take a step back, right? So the plan was always to take another step, and there really isn't much more for the Rangers to take other than a finals appearance and a Stanley Cup championship. You can't go much further than the Eastern Conference Finals, right? So I think it, like Little Ed said, it was a little disappointing earlier in the year. And we talked about it on our show, how the Rangers are kind of going through the motions, waiting for this time of year. So I fully expect, this team to take another step in intensity now that we're in the playoffs. So I think it's going to be a different team pretty much. I mean, look, the Rangers they have a lot of flaws that fans, can point out when it comes to, physicality and grit, but we do have, guys like Trouba and Gaudreau, who are going to step up that intensity level in the playoffs. And I don't know if the Devils will be able to match it, but we'll see. Coach, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I, for one, I'm pretty sure I did predict the Devils would make the playoffs this year. But we'd have to get Joe.
You're the only one.
No, it was people talked about it. But my big take on the whole thing, I mean, you could go up and down about the season. The Rangers did look a little shaky to me more often than you would like, I should say. But this whole playoff series is going to come down to what I always talk about, and that's puck management. If the Rangers, Lindy Ruff's been interviewed, and he said that we started from day one in training camp about puck management. If the Rangers don't have good puck management, they're going to be in for a long series. That's the bottom line. Any playoff series, but they're prone to. Last year, they could have made it easier if they would have had better puck management, in my opinion, getting to the Eastern Conference Finals. They're strong enough where that's all they need to do, and with their goaltending and defense, I think they should have no problem. It's going to come down to how they do that.
Yeah, I think all those points are very valid. And I mean, obviously now, just like with any team that's in the playoffs, now whatever happened in the regular season doesn't matter. Now it's about, you need 16 wins to obviously win the Stanley Cup. We actually have a bunch of comments that are already flooding in. So again, thank you to everybody who's coming in. As I mentioned before, Sophie is here. Jeff Nelson says, "What's good, Neil and crew? Love all your perspective on the postseason. Appreciate it." Lauren, my good friend, who is also a diehard Anaheim Ducks fan, she is absolutely thrilled that Dallas Eakins has finally been fired after what seemed like a very long period of time. She also is clearly not a huge fan of James Dolan or Ari Marino, because I think Lauren is also an Angels fan. So there's that. And then Lori says, "I'm sorry, Rangers fans." Okay.
Okay. Not many people like James Dolan, Rangers fans either.
Curtis
CW's
Wall.
in here.
Yeah, Curtis Wall
Check
is
it
giving a
out.
shout out to Coach Ed saying the Schneider jersey is where it's at.
Shout out to CW. Thanks for joining, buddy.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Sophie also
Nice.
asks Coach Ed a very, very interesting question. Do you have a Boston accent?
It's got to
I don't
be a
know.
sarcastic question, I would imagine.
Potentially, you know, you never know. You never know. But that's
By the way,
definitely-
Neil, I think I asked you the question. You were one of the ones that saying Lindy Ruff wouldn't be back next year.
This is true. This is true. I do remember. I do remember that. Are you going to ask me that question again now that we're at this point in the season?
Coach
I'm a
likes to
fan
bring
of his.
up. He likes to bring up.
Well,
Did you
I'm
ever
a
watch
fan of
Colin
his.
Coward?
I'm a fan of his, and you guys, everybody's got to. He's the 5th winningest coach in NHL history.
No, I understand that, but you gotta look at where the Devils were for 2 years when Lindy, before this year, and it was understandable that most Devils fans were not exactly keen on Lindy Ruff going into this year, and especially after the 0-2 start to the season.
But look how tough it is to teach a
0-2.
I know. What are you, Yankees fans? 0-2. Let's fire the coach.
He is a Yankees fan.
Oh my God. But you have to understand. It's one of my pet peeves. I don't understand how a hockey player can get to the NHL level and not be able to play the game, let's call it defensively. And to teach these young kids, which the Devils had a lot before they got Dougie Hamilton and before they got Meyer and before they got Tatar.
Yeah.
To teach those kids to play that way is very difficult. A lot of teams are going through it, the Rangers included, for the last 3 years. It's a process, and you got to trust it. And he finally got people to buy in. It's a tough thing to do.
And we talked about it, earlier this season before the season started. Jack Hughes was the biggest defender of Lindy Ruff after last season and said he wanted him here. He wanted him to stay. And I think Jack was kind of the first guy that really bought in to what Lindy was really trying to put down. And I think then that was a trickle effect, like you mentioned, Coach, just the rest of the team buying in. I think now at this point, everybody's bought in. Everybody understands the system that Lindy Ruff wants to play. And the Devils throughout the season have really taken that and taken it in stride, which is certainly an important reason as to why the Devils are in the position that they're in. My good buddy Jacob is in the chat, who's also the biggest Golden Knights fan I know. He says Rangers in 6. That's his prediction. So there's that. He also says it doesn't matter because he's going to go with Vegas versus Boston or Hurricanes. You got to pick one or the other, Jacob. You can't do 2 Eastern Conference teams for the Cup. No matter who we play, he believes Vegas is going to win the Cup. So that's a very unbiased opinion from Jacob. He also believes the Lakers are winning the championship this year. So you can understand where he's coming from.
Well,
anyway,
we're not on a basketball podcast here.
We are not on a basketball.
Sure.
Curtis also says, pretty sure my favorite quote of the podcast was Cousin Ed saying how he couldn't wait to see Jack Hughes in the playoffs and get leveled. It was like in February.
That was little Ed, I think.
It's probably all of us, to be honest.
Yeah, and that's good. Once again, gonna be my boy Trouba. Get off the tracks.
Oh God. I think after the last Devils Rangers matchup, I really hate Jacob Trouba. I didn't hate him until the last matchup, and then I'm like, okay, now I see why nobody likes
the most recent game. Is that
the most recent game? Correct.
What happened? You got to go.
I think it was one of those skirmishes behind the net in Devil's zone, and I think he grabbed somebody from behind and kind of dragged them down for literally no reason, and I had an issue with that, and I guess I also had an issue with the fact that nobody really stood up to Trouba in that moment, and that was pretty much that. So that was
playoff preview.
That's probably what you're going to see once the series actually gets underway, and I think that's going to be a big sticking point. I think that the biggest sticking point is the physicality, because you have a Rangers team who's been there. You have a Rangers team that's in some degrees very big, plays physical. There's no question about it. Plays the typical playoff hockey against the Devils team that is very skilled, very fast. That's really what. If you've listened to anybody talk about this team being interviewed, coaches. The common denominator is speed. Is that this team is fast, and that's kind of the thing that stands out. And the Devils, throughout the regular season, have had a lot of success using that speed. You also have that month of December where they really struggled, especially against bigger competition, like when they played the Islanders, like when they played the Florida Panthers. They really struggled against teams that were big, physical, and also had very, very solid goaltending. And that's what the Rangers have going into this first round matchup. So it's certainly going to be it's a really good challenge for this Devils team in their first, at least in this era, their first playoff series for most of this team, most of these young guys. It's a really, really good stepping stone to see how they match up. Because again, while the Devils had a lot of success in the regular season against the Rangers 3-0-1, the reality is that there is, everything kind of gets put aside, like I mentioned before, about once the playoffs start, none of that matters. It's all about what happens when, the series gets underway and how things go about. And I don't know about you guys, but I think every game, no matter where it's played, it's going to be loud. It's going to be raucous. It's going to be, and these two teams don't like each other. I think they've proven that. I think we are getting to that point where these two teams clearly don't like each other. I think they recognize how big this rivalry is, in the Hudson River rivalry. And I think it's going to be a show. I think it really is going to be the most exciting matchup of the first round of the playoffs.
I agree with that. Definitely. Yeah, looking down the rest of the matchups in the East, I think it's kind of not easy to predict, but this one's going to definitely be the most back and forth, in my opinion. What are you going to say, Coach?
Well, I think Tampa-Toronto, too. It's unfortunate that both of those series are on the same night. I wish Tampa-Toronto was alternate with the Rangers because that's one I really want to watch. But, I was going to say, Neil, you bring up the regular season. Yes, I keep hearing that from Devils fans. I think in '94, Coach, remind me because I was like 8, but the Rangers were 6-0 against the Devils in '94 during the regular season or something like that, right? And then
the Rangers were a very good team that year. I don't remember the exact every game. I don't have.
They were undefeated in '94 against the Devils.
Yeah, I think they were 6-0. They were 6-0 against the Devils. And then, it takes a Mark Messier guarantee and a hat trick in Game 6 to survive, and double overtime in Game 7 means nothing. I don't care about the regular season at all. It's an entirely different game. Playoff hockey is just completely different than regular season. So I just throw that out the door. The only thing that it does is it gives the coaching staffs, the ability to adjust and to plan. Right. So they faced the Devils. The Devils have faced the Rangers. Both coaching staffs are going to understand the strengths and weaknesses of the opponent, and you're going to see a different game. It's going to be different. You don't think that the Rangers coaching staff knows the Devils game is predicated on speed and transition? Of course they know that, right? So like Coach is saying, it's going to come down to puck management. They're going to play a different style to counteract that Devils speed. And if they don't, it's going to be a short series. I mean, that's the reality. So,
yeah. I think our buddy CW hit the comment that he just. Can you bring that up again?
Yeah, I'll bring it up again. Here you go.
Yeah, I think that's obviously the huge thing. The Rangers definitely have to slow down the Devils. I was watching the FDNY NYPD game yesterday, and a very similar situation happened. FDNY came out flying. They went up 3-0 very early on, and the final score was 6-5, I think, or 7-5 with an empty netter or something like that. So NYPD was a tougher team, a bigger team, a little bit of a slower team, but they were able to kind of slow the game down and control the game and force it to be a game towards the end. So I think that's going to be kind of what you got to see with the Rangers and with the Devils. It's going to be very similar.
I love CW's comment there, by the way. He's 100% right. That's how you counteract speed is you forecheck and control the puck in the offensive zone. And, if they can do that, the Devils won't have the puck. It's kind of your speed doesn't mean that much,
Yeah. And Coach,
that's what we took from playing. I was going to say that's where we took from the Islanders. The matchups we had against the Islanders was that they did a really good job on the forecheck, and they didn't really stop us. They just slowed us down and really frustrated us by having really solid defense like in front. And obviously Ilya Sorokin is a tremendous goaltender. And so this is a very similar type of matchup, when you go into this playoff year, is that Shesterkin, while he's had a very solid year, do not get me wrong, comparatively to last year, and I mean, he had an unbelievable year last year. Once he gets to the playoffs, he's going to be locked and loaded. Like, that's really what it's going to be. He's going to have a, very, very, singular mindset of just like, I have to be solid in net. I know I haven't had a ton of success against the Devils, but I know that I can steal a couple of games here or there. And so that's why, from the Devils' perspective, it's really about just, in many ways, not only sticking to the game plan, especially if it's working, but also when it's not working, what are the adjustments? I think that's the biggest thing that Devils fans want to see from Lindy Ruff. What type of adjustments can the coaching staff make if the Devils are in the position where the Rangers are doing a good job on the forecheck, their puck management is doing really solid? What can the Devils do if they're in a low-scoring, drag-it-out type game, which you're going to get a lot of in the playoffs. And so looking at it for the Devils' perspective, I know a lot of Devils fans, and I'm speaking for a lot of Devils fans. I know that a lot of people are saying that this was the matchup that most fans wanted because of the success in the regular season. But as Cousin Ed just mentioned before, and like I mentioned before, regular season doesn't mean anything once you get in the playoffs. And so it's a whole nother animal. And so I think for the Devils, they're going to have success. It's just a matter of how much success are they going to be able to generate against this Rangers team. Does experience become as big of a factor as people are talking about? That's going to be a question for me, because people will say that experience is the most important thing, and I understand that. But also you have situations where you have upsets in the first round, and it's usually a team that doesn't have as much playoff experience. People are looking at the Colorado-Seattle series in the first round and saying Seattle could easily upset Colorado, despite Colorado being the defending Cup champs, just based off of puck luck and obviously taking advantage of the opportunities when you're given, because you're only going to be given so many opportunities in a game and in a series that you have to take advantage of. And if you don't, it's going to make you pay. So I think that's really kind of one of the things. And I will say this from the Devils' perspective. The Devils are going into the playoffs with house money. Nobody expected them. A lot of people didn't expect them to get to the playoffs. And a lot of people certainly didn't expect them to be as high up as they are in the standings and, how much success they had this year. And so I don't think the Devils are looking at it like cup or bust. It's very weird that people are putting the Devils as a cup contender when just last year they got the second overall pick in the draft. But the Devils are kind of going into it with a lot of optimism. The only thing that Devils fans will say is that if they won this series and then got knocked out in the second round, they would be happy. Because I think the last thing the Devils fans want to do is go through several months of hearing Rangers fans bragging about beating us in the playoffs. But it's a challenge for the Devils. It's an absolutely phenomenal challenge, one that I'm very, very excited for, because I think this is going to be a really awesome series between these two teams.
Yeah, Coach, Neil brings up a good point on the experience. I'm curious, you've seen more playoff runs than I have. Not that I haven't seen my fair share. So I'm just curious what your thoughts are and how important that is. I mean, we saw last year with the Rangers, the kid line was one of our more effective lines in the playoffs, and they had no playoff experience. So do you think that's going to play a factor in this series?
Well, the playoff experience isn't just for the one. Let's not just say that the kid line excelled, because like Neil was just saying, they're going into the playoffs with house money. If they don't do good, everybody says, oh, they're young kids, they don't know yet. Just like the Kraken, if they go in and they beat Colorado, they're going in. If they lose, we lost to the defending Cup champs. But if Colorado's got the pressure on them right now, that's what every team that faced Vegas that year faced. And Vegas just rolled over everybody because they went in saying, oh, if we lose, we lose. They just put everything on the line. So that's the hard part of playing a team without the experience, because they have nothing to lose, where the Rangers have more to lose, because with the trades they made, with the experience they had last year, if they lose, it's more devastating to the fans. And
you can already tell that Coach is like the star of this episode. You can really tell
He's
that.
the star of everything.
Now you know we feel.
But anyway, I mean, the experience means a lot. It's going to mean a lot with the intangibles, with preparing for the games, but it's not going to mean a do or die part of the series, in my opinion. You need it, but you need the guys to play the game the way it's supposed to be played. That's where the experience is going to come in.
Yeah.
Well, I think that. Yeah, go ahead, Little Ed. Go.
No, it's okay. We're probably going to say the same thing. I think it's more of like an immediate, like a personal experience. Like players like Panarin, he's going to know, like it already started to show towards the end of the regular season, his puck management and how that started to improve. He wasn't giving the puck away as much. He was getting the puck deep instead of trying to make the pass across ice, things like that. So I think like the immediate experience, like last year, he's going to think on, like, I could have done things a lot differently in the playoffs against the Penguins, against the Hurricanes, and blah, blah, blah. So I think it's going to, on a more personal level, I think the experience is going to matter a lot. Whereas like Jack Hughes, a player like Jack Hughes, he might just keep trying to do the same thing he's been trying all season because it was working, and he doesn't really know what's going to work and what's not going to work in the playoffs necessarily. I mean, I know I always pick on him, but obviously he's your star. And I mean, it's just like little things like that, I think. And then obviously like Goudreau with the experience, and like going into the locker room and just saying like, oh guys, when I won back in Tampa, we were down 3-2, and this is what we had to do to change the momentum. Like just like little things like that, like just here and there. Overall, the big picture, I don't think it really matters. Like we've been saying, there could be an upset here and there. Obviously, the Devils are most likely going to win at least one game. All Ranger fans on this show can admit that. So there's going to be ups and downs of the series. It's just a matter of how you're able to bounce back. And that's where the experience is really going to come into a factor, because the Rangers had a horrible time last year in the playoffs. Nothing was easy, so they're going to battling that adversity is obviously where the experience really comes into play.
Yeah.
I think that's a good point. I mean, Cuz, did you have any things you wanted to add to that, or?
No, that's pretty much what I was going to say. It's the moments during the series where you have the guys with experience, right? There's moments during the series where you're going to need to lean on guys who have playoff experience as a unit, as a team. Jack Hughes isn't going to be the one to speak up when the Devils face adversity in the series. It's not going to be him. Who's it going to be for you guys?
Well,
that's a couple guys, right?
That was one of the big reasons we got Andre Palat. I think because we got Palat. Eric Hollis had a bunch of playoff experience, especially when he was with Vegas. He helped them get to the Cup final in their first year. You have Dougie Hamilton, who's played in the playoffs a bunch.
No.
You have different guys like that. I'm literally just
Neil. Let me just say this: if I'm the Rangers coach, my whole playoff series
plan
is dumping into Hamilton's corner and just
run him.
That's it. Take 2 minutes. I don't give a crap. Just take 2 minutes, and every time he touches the puck after that, he's gonna like a hot potato.
No, we're not trying to hurt anybody, but yeah, what coach is
I'm not
referring
saying
to
hurt
is that,
him. I'm saying hit him.
No, I know, but what coach is referring to is that when he was against the Capitals, remember when Ovechkin went in to hit him on the forecheck, and he literally jumped out of the way and got out of the way. I think Ovechkin got the puck, and the Capitals scored. It was a big goal in the series. So that's what coach is referring to when they were playing when he was on Carolina. Yeah. So I mean, I think that's going to obviously be a big factor, and that's what CW said: get pucks behind them and forecheck. And that's.
I think one thing I was going to say, one thing to keep an eye on, especially in Game 1. Look at the first 2 minutes of the game and just see how both teams react. Just first 2 minutes, because I think that's going to be a really kind of the first sign of how the series is going to go. If the Rangers are coming out being, very physical right away, then it's like, okay, this is what it's going to be. And at the end of the day, from the Devils' perspective, Lindy Ruff can only say so much. It's all about, for these players, they have to go into it and experience it. And the pressure for them is that the series starts at home. It's going to be at the Rock. It's going to be with a raucous crowd. There's going to be that pressure, especially starting the series off in New Jersey. And there's a lot of expectations. All of a sudden, this team has a ton of expectations, more than they had when the season began. And it's going to be about, how does this team face adversity? How do they face a challenge like this? They got somewhat of an experience of that when they played Boston a week and change ago and only lost 2-1. And a lot of us came away from that saying the Devils didn't play their best game. And they were right there with Boston, arguably the best team in the NHL. So, and that's a little bit of experience. And I will even argue to say the closest experience the Devils got in terms of facing the Rangers this year for the playoffs was the last game of the regular season between these two teams when it was 2-1. It was a very, very, back and forth type game. Both teams had some really good chances. It was a low scoring game. The Devils definitely at times are not the best when it comes to low scoring games, but they have to find a way to win these games. And the biggest question is going to be Vitek Vanacek. I don't think there's any other. I think that's the guy other than Jack Hughes you're going to look at a lot and say, how is he going to perform? Because in the short time that Vitek has been in the playoffs, hasn't done very well. And this is obviously, a new team for him. This has been a phenomenal year for him. He's played more games than he's played in his entire career, in terms of a season. And now he gets the chance to, help lead a Devils team into what they hope to be a long playoff run. And I think that if Vitek can continue to play in the form that he's been playing of late in his last 5-6 starts, then he's going to give the Devils a really good chance to steal a game or two, and especially on the road, and it's going to be really important. Seawall wanted to ask me this question. He said, how do you see the Devils countering the deep bench on the Rangers? Rangers' third line is almost a 1A line. The third line is the fifth line, correct? Is that what he's referring to?
What'd
Kid
you
line.
say?
Is
Yes.
the third line the kid line? Is that what
Yes,
he's referring
most
to?
likely
Okay.
that's what he's
Just wanted-
referring to. Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure. Well, here's the thing. For people who have not watched the Devils a lot throughout the year, the Devils also have a lot of depth. Timo Meyer's been playing on the third line because he's had that much success on the third line. So he's had a lot of favorable matchups playing with Eric Halla and Jesper Boquist. And then we have a pretty solid physical fourth line of guys like Nate Bastian, Miles Wood. We acquired Curtis Lazar at the trade deadline. Big body guys and guys that are going to be what we hope to be tempo setters. Guys that are going to send a message early on. I wouldn't be shocked if Lindy put them out there to start the game just to kind of get that level of anxiousness out of the way, because clearly the Devils in particular are going to be anxious when the game starts. Right away, they're going to be anxious, and I think having that
both
line like
teams are.
that, both teams are, but I think the Devils a little bit more because, like we mentioned, haven't been in the playoffs in 5 years. So this is a whole new territory for them. But I think the Devils can counteract that. They've had success before. They did a good job in the last game with the kid line, although the kid line in the third period definitely kind of woke up and probably created the best of the chances for the Rangers in that third period. But I think the Devils can match that depth with the depth that they have. And I think another thing is going to be this. The Devils, Lindy Ruff tends at times to go 11 forward, 7 defensemen to be a more defensive team, which to me takes away from the identity of this team. I don't know if he's going to do that against this Rangers team. I don't know if that's his plan. Doesn't sound like it. But I think that it's definitely possible in terms of depth. You added Luke Hughes, who's bigger, a little bit stronger than what Jack is right now. And Luke's only 18, 19 years of age right now. You have a guy like Brendan Smith, who he takes a penalty every game, but he still plays relatively decent defense. You have a big guy like Kevin Ball. Again, another inexperienced player overall, but still, big Ryan Graves as well. So again, like I mentioned before, it's going to be a challenge, but I think the Devils do have depth that they can match it. Not completely, but I think that they can match it in different ways, that they can create a line that could be its most productive. And one thing that also Jacob mentioned, because he said Devils need a better backup goalie. That was a big question towards the end of the season with Mackenzie Blackwood not playing well, Akira Schmidt having a pretty good year. Lindy Ruff said yesterday at practice that the Devils are going to go with 3 goaltenders on the roster to start the playoffs. So, you're hoping that you don't have to go to your backup at some point, but in most playoff years, you kind of tend to do that at least once. Because of different circumstances. So that's going to be a big question mark. Vitek's going to be one of the top 2 biggest question marks. And look, I can't really answer a whole lot because, again, experience does play a factor. And it's just going to be about this Devils team has to learn. And whether they win the series or not, it's going to be a learning experience for them moving forward. And it's going to be, can they withstand a 7-game series with this Rangers team? And I think the Devils have proven to me that they can beat just about anybody that they want to. People have asked me, how far can this Devils team go? And I've said it verbatim. They could go as far as they want to go. If they firmly believe that they can go all the way to the Cup final, then they can do that because they have generated a lot of success. That's the way I look at it. But it starts with game 1 on Tuesday at home against the Rangers. And you got to set a good tempo right away. You got to send a message right away that you're here, you're ready to go, and you're ready for this battle because it's going to be a battle.
Hey, Ranger fans, springtime is here, and that means 3 things. NHL playoffs are here, indoor-outdoor house projects are ready to start, and your tax refund check should be coming very soon to put towards those outdoor projects. So get going with that kitchen or bath project or even the bar top in your Ranger room in the basement. One thing for sure, when you're ready to order your custom countertop, you can count on Bella Marble and Granite for your needs. The large stores may toe drag you in with false discounts, dealing with multiple people, phone discussions over and over, and even those teleprompter phone calls where you have to hit buttons to try to talk to someone. Avoid that frustration and call the boys at Bella. Visit their shop. Very simple. Pick out your stone. When the job is ready, you'll be one-on-one with the owners. They'll come to the house. They'll template the countertop, cut the stone, bring it back, and install it in a prompt and professional manner. So head on over to Bella Marble, Granite, and Quartz at 3459 Lawson Boulevard in Oceanside. That's in New York, not out in California. I know we have a worldwide platform now. Tell them Coach Ed sent you. Discuss a little Rangers chat over in the office. Maybe you'll get a little extra discount on the side. And I've been dealing with them for 4 or 5 years on all my construction projects all over Long Island, and they've been steady and very professional all the way through. So give them a call over there and get going on those projects. Keep the wife happy so you can watch your playoffs all season long.
Or husband or partner happy.
Correct.
So
I kind of want to redo my kitchen just after listening to that.
Yeah, I think, Coach, you talked about dumping it into Dougie Hamilton's corner and going to hit him, right? And Neil, you make good arguments for the Devils. Listening to you, I got to say, you really do. Like, I start to believe
stressing
the
me
things
out a
that you're
little bit.
saying a little bit.
Yeah,
I'm like, you know what? Like, the Devils are a powerhouse. I'm sitting here like, oh my God. But then I stop for a second and I just think, who do they got on the right side? Right? 'Cause I've been seeing a lot of these posts and, do the Devils have the best right side D in the league? Damon Severson, John Marino, and Dougie Hamilton.
I'm not going to defend Damon Severson. I'm just not
I
going
keep
to.
seeing these posts. No, but
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
Don't bring up Damon Severson, please. Please don't.
All I can think back to is last year. Number one, the Dougie Hamilton play that Coach was referring to in Little Ed.
You're going to talk about John Marino
also,
last year in the first round.
Number two, John Marino.
Yep.
First shift for Alexis Lafreniere against Pittsburgh. Puck goes into John Marino's corner, and Lafreniere hits the glass. I don't even remember if he hit him or not, but he hit the glass so hard right next to Marino. The guard, it was shaking. The arena was shaking, and the crowd was in. The Rangers need to pummel the Devils' defense because it's just not. I'm sorry. Like, who's your big defenseman as far as physicality? Ryan Graves. I think it would be the biggest.
It's gonna be Ryan Graves. It's gonna be Graves, and then like secondary, but not like close wise, is gonna be like Jonas Siegedal. But that's two guys on the left side, like you mentioned. And I think
so we got to get them early.
You were talking about on the right side. What a lot of people are saying, and I'm not defending it in any way, but what I've seen is that they're talking about it just from the offensive perspective. And again,
I'll take Fox, Trouba, and Schneider over those three any day. Just saying.
I think most people would. And this is coming from a guy who covers the Devils for a living. So. I got to call it like it is. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely some really good mismatches in this series. Like there's just things that are like, they're just really good storylines as well. I think that's kind of what hockey fans in general want. They want good storyline. And I'm sure the NHL over the last 2 weeks was stressing out about where the Devils and Rangers really going to play in the first round, because there was uncertainty about it. There was uncertainty, especially because Carolina decided to make things interesting at the end of the season in terms of who was going to win the division. They really limped into the playoffs, if I'm going to call it like it is. They really limped in. So that'll be something to understand. But like I said before, I'm just very much looking forward to the challenge. That's kind of the big thing to me. Like people have said to me, how confident are you going into the series? I said several times, I'm cautiously optimistic because I respect the Rangers a lot. I respect their talent. I think Mika Zibanejad is one of the most underrated players in the league and does not get enough credit for how good he really is as a player. I think Chris Kreider, as much as he might be not the nicest person to people, is a hell of a player. I don't think there's any question about that. You got Adam Fox, who's a phenomenal defenseman. Igor Shesterkin.
Wait, Kreider's not a nice person? Who says that?
So the story.
Yeah, we can't glance over that.
I will tell you a very good story. And this was
young guys on the team.
This was a couple of years ago. But my friend, who's a Rangers fan, she was like waiting for like the players, and like she asked Chris Kreider for like an autograph, and he like completely like blew her off and just kept walking down the tunnel. Wow. And so like that was the overall like perception that people had of Kreider, that he was like a jerk or whatever.
What language did she say it in? He speaks like 9 of them.
Broken English, maybe? I don't know. I have no idea. But I also wanted to show this comment really quickly.
Okay, no, go ahead.
I'm not really looking forward to PK Sluban coverage. I know Coach Ed is waiting for Sam and Joe to be all ramped up.
Yeah, we got word today that MSG is going to be covering games 1, 2, and 4, right? Cuz you said, I think. So
Yeah, well, they're going to
that's
cover
good.
the whole first round, except as of now, Game 3 is an exclusive.
Game 3
Yeah.
is exclusively ESPN/ABC. That's what they said.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So we'll see if there is a Game 5, 6, and 7, which I think there will be.
Yeah.
So,
Neil, I had a question for you. You keep on talking about referring to the crowd in both arenas.
Sure.
I want to know what the buzz is around like the Devils world. I mean, obviously during the regular season, it was mostly Ranger fans at the Rock. So do you foresee that happening? What do you think the percentage is going to be? Because I think it's going to be still like 60-40 Rangers from what I
I think
hear.
it'll be much more. I think honestly it'll be much more 50-50. I really do.
Think so?
Because I think, because I know Devils fans that were raring and ready to go for weeks, waiting for us to officially clinch, and it didn't matter who we played in the playoffs. Like we're gonna come out, we're gonna be ready to go. And look, I get it. Like it's cheaper to buy tickets to go see the Rangers at the Rock than it is at MSG. Totally understand that. So and there's a lot of Rangers fans that live in New Jersey. I get that. So I know it's going to be like that. It was the most even I've ever seen it, with Devils and Rangers fans. The most even I ever saw was that last regular season game a couple weeks ago. It was like that was one of the times where it was pretty even in terms of Devils and Rangers fans, a balance. I think you're going to see that a lot, especially at the Rock. You're going to see a lot of very loud and clear "Let's Go Devils" chants, but I also think you'll hear a lot of very loud and clear "Let's Go Rangers" chants.
you don't think they're going to fill up the Garden too, though?
No way.
Devils fans?
What, you talking about the Devil? Are you talking about the Devils fans?
No.
I think so.
Yeah, okay.
There'll be a decent amount, but
I think there's going to be a good
50-50.
amount. I think that if you've ever seen, a soccer game where there's a bunch of fans and then there's that one group that's just all standing together.
Yes.
That's
I know
what you'll
exactly
that's what you'll probably see, honestly. That's what you'll probably see.
That's hilarious.
I think that's
let's just make
the
it clear.
fan
I've
club.
never seen a soccer game.
The fan club in the back.
the supporters section. That's
cousin that lives in Miami, so he's seen plenty of those.
No,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
No,
But yeah,
wild.
that's
soccer
kind of
games are fun, man. They're a lot of fun.
I want to go to one. It's definitely a bucket list thing.
Dennis says, don't forget Severson scored the overtime against the Rangers. He did. So he does have some value from an offensive perspective. Because I've said before about Damon Severson, 1 minute he does that, the next minute he shoots the puck into his own net. So it's a love-hate relationship with a guy that probably won't be back on the team next year, but we'll see. And then Gore says the only highlight of his season then.
Awesome.
I can't really argue that though. I can't really argue that one. So that's fair.
Neil, shout out to Gaza. He's watching from England, Birmingham.
Oh,
England.
appreciate it. Wow, it is really late for you, my friend. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Ian's Insight says, let's go Devils. So we do have at least some Devils fans because I feel like it was mostly just Rangers fans tonight. Jeez, I was like, I'm getting no support tonight. Gaza says Rangers in 6. That's
You'll
his
get
prediction.
my prediction soon, Gaza.
Right.
I agree.
We'll get to the predictions soon. The real decision maker. Do the Devils have a good national anthem singer? Yes, we do. Her name is Arlette. Okay, Seawall. You want to go down that route. All right. Well, her name is Arlette, and she is phenomenal. So my advice to you, if you get a chance, if they show it on TV, listen to Arlette. She's dynamite. I understand the Rangers have a very, very good anthem singer. Do not get me wrong. But the Devils also have that too. So just,
that's it. Little inside joke, Neil. Coach had said that in the beginning of this, last season, right? That the Rangers.
No, he said that in the beginning of our podcast. It was like episode 3.
Oh yeah. That the Rangers needed to solidify their national anthem singer. So now it's been a joke with our fans since then.
Fair enough.
And finally, we got John Brancy. Hopefully, found a home for the playoffs.
I was going to say, Jeff actually has a question. Yeah, go ahead, Coach.
When we met Reader that time, he agreed. Remember at the Garden?
Yeah, absolutely.
So he goes and gets the crowd going. So
bring that question up. I think.
Jeff Nelson says, "Did you New York fans like the addition of Tarasenko?" I don't know why I'm laughing at the way he says, "Do you New York fans like the addition of Tarasenko? Will he stay?"
New York fans, you like Tarasenko?
Yeah, right. Do you think he'll stay and sign a deal after this season with the Rangers?
All right, so part one of that question, yes, I've wanted Tarasenko as a Ranger since he was a prospect. They should have drafted him. We all know the Dylan McElrath crap that happened and didn't take Tarasenko. But alas, they finally get him this year. And I got to say, I mean, the guy's his nickname is Tank, and he plays that way. I think he's been playing great. His points, obviously, he's not a point per game or anything like that, but he's got like 8 or 10 goals. He shoots the puck. It's what the Rangers have been missing. They have too many guys that pass. Even their 40-goal scorer is one of the most unselfish players in the league. Overpasses. Panarin overpasses. Fox overpasses. Now they got Kane. He overpasses. Who's going to shoot? Someone's got to shoot, So I think Tarasenko's fit in well with that. He's got a couple of nice goals this year, just on the rush, getting the puck and shooting it from the circles. That you need a threat like that in the playoffs. Last year we had that with Vetrano on a smaller scale. So I think that's an improvement with Tarasenko. Will he sign? I mean, it depends. What's the salary cap going to be, right? Is it going to go up 1 million? Is it going to go up 5? Is it going to go up 3? What does he want to do? This is probably, he's 31. This is his last shot, I think, at another contract in his career. He had the shoulder injuries. He's shown that he's healthy. If somebody offers him a 6 million, 6.5 million a year or more, no, I don't think the Rangers will match that. I don't think they'll be able to. But if he's willing to take a 3 or 4 year deal around 4 million, and the cap goes up enough where the Rangers could squeeze that in, I'm pretty sure they'll want him back. I don't know. I mean, coach is going to say you bring him back and do whatever you got to do. Coach, you'll trade Hedl to keep Tarasenko, right?
Without a doubt. I'm Kenny Danico style. I remember last year at the trade deadline, Danico said on NHL Network, we got to get this guy. I don't know about the cap. Just get it done. Whatever has to be done. So.
That's a good way to look at it.
I'm old school like Kenny Danico. I like listening to him, and I love this guy. I didn't know nearly as much as Cousin Eddie about him, but I watch him game in and game out. I love the way he plays, his interaction, his physicality, the little things he does to get pucks out of the zone, to make pass. To me, he's a complete player.
Yeah. The biggest thing that sticks out for me is his help out, like on the bench. He's always teaching. He's always showing things on the iPad to the young guys, even to Zibanejad, to Kane, everybody. He's constantly talking on the bench, and I can imagine that's only happening even more in the locker room and stuff. And he's got the cup. He's got that experience we were talking about earlier. So that really impresses me, and I think that's a big reason why they would want him to stick around, is because he's already made such an impression, clearly. And I think, like we talked about also with Panarin, I think Panarin kind of snapped out of it too. When Tarasenko came over, Panarin was like, "Oh crap, I gotta play a little tougher. I gotta play a little harder, make the right decisions. Otherwise, Tarasenko's gonna be on my ass." And that guy's huge.
Right.
So I think that we talked about that in a big we talked about that on an episode. I think Cousin Ed brought it up, that he definitely made a huge impact on Panarin.
Yeah, and guys, says Tarasenko, I'm happy that he was traded to the Rangers. I think most Rangers fans would certainly agree with that. Shano says, from what I've heard, the salary cap is only going up by $1 million. That is, I think that's been pretty much confirmed considering circumstances. So, I mean, we'll see how much.
Well, they're waiting on. Last I saw, that Bettman came out and said it was only going to go up $1 million. But these things change. They have to wait to see what the hockey-related revenue is at the end of the playoffs, and then it's a negotiation, right? I mean, we'll see what happens. I wouldn't expect it to jump a lot,
especially with Valley Sports having problems. So it's
that was a bad thing for the cap. But I mean, look, if it only goes up $1 million, then Tarasenko won't be back. There's no way.
Fair enough.
They're not going to be able to fit him.
Cousin says, careful if you come to England for a soccer match. Yeah, I'm told.
We might have to have a Rangers trip to England.
There you go. Ian says, I'm going to the game on Tuesday. Can't wait. Let's effing go Devils. Awesome, Ian. Enjoy yourself, man. Enjoy yourself. He also says, I have a feeling VTech is going to pop up this playoffs. I think that's a big thing for the Devils. I think if, everybody said it last year, if the Devils just have competent goaltending, they'll be fine. Well, they got very competent goaltending this season from Vitek Vanacek. And look, has it been completely solidified? It's tough to say, because Vitek also went through a stretch, even when the Devils were still winning games, where he was not completely on his game. He was not completely playing 100% the way he was. And talking to Capitals fans, they said that at this time of the year is when Vitek usually tends to struggle, and because especially when he gets a heavier workload. And so now he's getting his heaviest workload. He's the number one guy. He's got a lot of pressure on his shoulders. And can he, he played very well the last handful of games going into the playoffs. So that is a positive. Can he do that more consistently once the playoffs start? Again, question mark. It's unfortunate with the Devils. There's just a lot of question marks that are going to be answered over the next 2 weeks or so of these, with this playoff series against the Rangers. This whole series will be the way to answer a lot of those questions. Then it says that the VTech, because VTech likes to talk in third person, is on a mission. I really don't understand why he likes to talk in third person.
He actually does that?
Well, he said one time, he was interviewed and he said, I'm very happy for the VTech because he played well. And I'm like, okay.
Oh,
cool.
Man.
Goalies
are weird.
Whack, dude.
I was like, okay, we have a character on this team.
Well, look, you as a Devils fan, I mean, you guys, I'm seeing the comments here, and there's a lot of love for Vitek Vanacek, and I get it. The Devils have been searching for a goalie for a long time, and he had a very
I know you were shaking
season.
your head before, Cuz, by the way. I saw.
I'm just not a huge believer in Vitek Vanacek. It has nothing to do with him being a Devil. I mean, you just look at his numbers, and you can't just look at raw numbers for goaltenders, right? He's got
right.
the win. He's got the save percent. I look at goals save above expected. That's the number one stat I look at when I look at a goaltender. And the reason is that because you have to level out all the playing field and see, okay, how many goals is this goalie actually saving over an average, NHL goaltender? And Vanacek had a pretty good year, 14th in the NHL per evolving hockey, 13.28 goals saved above expected. Igor Shesterkin, who everyone's saying had an off year, 27.84 goals saved above expected, almost double, more than double of what Vanacek had. So I think that's
an off year comparatively to last year.
He had an all-time season last year.
That's what I'm saying.
He almost had a 940 save. Well, I'm just saying, if you look at Vitek versus Igor, that is a huge check mark in the Rangers column. That doesn't mean that's how it's going to play out. Vitek, we know how goalies are in the play. Vitek could go off, and Igor could drop a dud, and it's a quick series, right? But I think going in, that is the one area where I'm like, we got that. Goaltending is in our corner, right, Little Ed? I mean, you'd agree with that.
Yeah, you can't argue those numbers that you brought up, and you can't argue. I mean, Igor struggled last year in the playoffs also. I mean, Ranger fans, thinking back, the Penguins fans were chanting his name in Pittsburgh. It was getting real ugly to us. We thought that they were going to have to bring in Georgie as a backup or whatever. It started to get real ugly. We were wondering what the hell happened to him after the Vezina season. And then all of a sudden he bounced back and he was right back to where he was. So, yeah, he could just throw up a dud. The pressure could get to him too. I mean, these guys are humans. But, I mean, the important thing is I think we have the confidence that he is going to bounce back no matter what happens. And no matter what, I don't think the series is going to end just because he throws up one bad game. What do we got here?
Can we all agree, my good buddy Danelle, can we all agree that all three teams in the New York metropolitan area made the playoffs, Rangers, Devils, Islanders, since 06-07? I mean,
no,
as
Danelle,
a Devils fan, I'm happy. I mean, sure. But Dennis says, is Luke definitely playing? I'll answer the first part of the question. It is 50-50. It all depends. He's going to be with the team. That doesn't mean he's going to play. It all depends on the situation. That's the way that Lindy Ruff has put it. And then he says, is Akira the backup for Vitek Vanacek? Again, Lindy Ruff said they were going 3 goaltenders. My opinion, he's probably the backup because Blackwood has really struggled this entire year, struggled the last 2 years, honestly. And I think that the Devils play better when Akira's in net. He was a big reason that we came back in the last game of the regular season against Washington. We were down 4-1 when he came in. He stopped all 20 shots that he faced, and we won the game in overtime. I mean, that's a big difference.
You got to go with him as a backup. I agree.
Right, exactly. That's the way that we look at it. And then Kim Palat shows signs of life. This is the reason. This time of the year is why the Devils signed Palat, based off of what he's done over the last couple of years. And these three gentlemen right here know exactly what I'm talking about because they experienced it last year. That is why they signed Palat for this moment, not the regular season, but for now. And we'll see. This is the hope is that he does.
Scores big goals, Palat. He just has a knack for that 1-1 game, 10 minutes left in the third, and he gets some garbage goal, and it's annoying. I think Devils fans will be happy with him in the playoffs for sure.
Gaza said, I forgot to say, Neil, that I have Monday off as I had booked the day off from work and I was watching the Elite League hockey playoffs from England on my TV. Very cool. Very cool
Awesome,
indeed.
guys. And to
Sean,
watch our show.
Dude, Sean is a Predators fan, and he goes, Saros casually leading all goalies in GSAA. Yeah, but they're not in the playoffs.
I think it's Sorokin actually. Saros is right there though. I'm not sure. I got to double check that.
Fair enough.
But yeah, Saros is a stud, man. He's a stud.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with him in the offseason. There's a lot of question marks, not with him per se, but just is he going to stay in Nashville after this season? So we'll.
Hey, maybe you can trade Vitek Vanacek for him.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. No, I'm not doing that. But we're kind of coming up on the hour here, and again, thank you all so much for jumping on, interacting. This has been so much fun, and to kind of wrap this up, I think it's only fitting that it's time for our official predictions. And so, with that being said, Coach, I want you to go first. Give me your prediction.
What? Who's winning the series? That's it.
Yeah, and how many games?
Games.
And also, who's your X factor?
I'm going to say Rangers in 6.
And who's your X factor?
Yep, I second that. Coach Ed and I should be at Game 6, so I think it's going to be the clinching game when we're at the Garden.
Okay.
Coach, your X factor. He asked you.
Oh, that.
What's my X factor? My X factor is.
Who's your X factor?
I think you skipped there, Neil. I think we lost you for a second.
Oh,
okay,
I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
The X factor, I'm going to say Tarasenko is going to have a big series. I'm going with my boy Tarasenko.
Nice. Little Ed, what about you?
Pick 6 too?
What'd you say? Yeah, I'm going to go Rangers in 6, like I just said. Coach Ed and I should be at Game 6 if all goes according to plan, and I think that'll be the clinching game. And I think the X factor is going to be Showtime. I think it took him a while to get settled in where he wants to be, and I think his time's really going to shine. That's pretty funny. I would never emotionally recover. Sure. Yeah, I think he's really going to come out in the playoffs. I think this is his time, and like I said, we haven't seen the Patrick Kane that is Patrick Kane in the past. I mean, 3 cups, got the pedigree, and he's going to step up huge, I think.
For all the hoops you jumped through, you didn't give up
CW.
The hoops? Okay.
What, the 3rd round pick we had to give up?
Yeah, you jumped through a lot of hoops for that 3rd round pick.
No,
we
didn't
did jump through hoops. He's right.
Playing with 4 defensemen, we did a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
he's right. We played short, like 5 games.
Fair enough.
And the Islanders almost caught up to us. It was a little scary for a week or so.
It was.
It was all according to plan, though.
Well, I'm gonna say Rangers in 7.
Wow.
Because nothing ever is easy with this team. And I just think it's gonna be a back and forth series. It's gonna be 1-0, 2-1, 3-2, Game 7. So that's what I think. And I think my X factor, I'm torn between 2, but I'm gonna go with the kid line. I think the enthusiasm of that line, these are 3 first-round picks, 2 top 2 picks, guys that have been, people around the league who don't watch the Rangers have been crapping on these guys as underperformers. They don't understand the context of their usage, and they just don't understand it. But they got a ton of enthusiasm. All 3 of them are playing with a ton of confidence. And I just think that is the one line the Rangers have that will forecheck the opponent into submission. And I think other than the 4th line, but they can do it with skill. So I think that the puck control and when the momentum and the Devils are pushing the play, and then you put that line out there, it's going to be a huge issue. So I love Gaza.
I think we can all agree on this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the kid line is the X factor, Neil. Go ahead. Pick the Devils now, and then tell us your X factor.
Well, like I said before, I'm cautiously optimistic. I respect the Rangers a lot. I do think that home ice advantage is a very important thing, and obviously it's not always a decisive factor, but in many series it ends up being. And so with that being said, I'm going to go with the New Jersey Devils to win in 7 games. I think it's going to go the distance. I think both of these teams are going to have big moments. I think at the end of the day, I think the Devils are going to find a way to get that little extra push. And the guy who's going to give them the little extra push is the same guy that was giving these 3 gentlemen nightmares last year, and that is Andre Palat. I think Palat is probably the most excited of anybody to play the Rangers again in the playoffs. He understands, he played against most of this team last year. He understands what the Lightning had to go through, especially in adversity. I mean, they looked like, in the third period of game 3 last year in the conference final, they looked dead in the water. It looked like it was a wrap. And
don't remind me. All right.
And then Palat and the Lightning were able to strike, no pun intended. And they were able to find a way to get past the Rangers. But I do think it'll go the distance. And I think the guys in red and black are going to find a way to come out victorious in their first major playoff series win in well over a decade. So
Neil, I think you know what else? I just want to add this. I'm sorry, but I think another key to the series, not necessarily an X factor, is going to be the Devils staying out of the box. Because I think if the Devils keep it at 5-on-5, I think that they have enough speed to really wear the Rangers down over the course of a game. But if they start taking penalties, the Rangers have 2 elite power play units,
right?
And that can really be a difference in the series too. I'm sure Coach would agree. Devils need to stay out of the box to win this series.
I have one other little
nugget.
One AX factor. What about even strength in overtime? The Devils are very good at 3-on-3 in overtime, where I would say they might have, I wouldn't say an advantage, but a scarier look. 5-on-5 overtime, sudden death is a little different.
I think Devils fans just have. Go ahead, Coach. Sorry.
That could be a little interesting if there's a couple of overtime games. I'd like to see something. I don't want to see.
There will be.
I don't want to see it, but
every game.
It's going to be interesting to see.
Every game's overtime.
It's going to be double, triple overtime.
Yeah, why not?
Turned over on offsides calls and all kinds of
right. And the rest of the Eastern Conference just looks and says, "Well, I mean, they're going to be dog tired by the time they get to us."
Exactly.
We'll be fine. Keep playing every series that goes the distance. I think the Devils are also just happy we don't have to play in the shootout the rest of the year. I think I can really go to bed at ease knowing that I don't have to see my team somewhat try to score a shootout goal, because God, this team is the worst in the NHL in terms of shootout. Curtis Seawall says, please no triple overtime in game 1. No promises. No promises at all.
That was awful.
That was the funniest thing. I remember last year because I did a live watch along of game 1. It was the funniest thing. It was like, this game will never end.
Oh my God.
This game will not end. It was the funniest
that was the game. That was the game Kako scored and they took it away at the end of the third. Right? And it went 3 OTs.
I think the Rangers lead the league. I think the Rangers lead the league in other teams challenging goals and taking them away.
Okay. Well, if the Devils get a goal, if the Devils get a goal taken away, I cannot guarantee that we won't throw stuff on the ice again. I don't think I can guarantee that they may not happen. We'll see. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
I hope it's a good series, Neil. As much as I want to sweep you guys, but I hope that as fans we all get to really enjoy the series, and it's well reffed, and you just want it to be well reffed and hard played, and just hope that
you don't want the refs to get involved one way or the other. You just want them to kind of stay back and just let the guys play the way that they want to play. We had a couple predictions from people in the chat. Guys are going Rangers in 6, so he's kind of on par. You guys, Sean's going Rangers in 7, so Cousin Eddie's on board with you. Rangers in 6, so I'm really not enjoying this so far. Dennis says he has the Devils in 6. So that's definitely a bold take. So finishing the series in the Garden, that would be something. That would be something if that ends up being the case. Devils have won a game in the Garden.
I think the Devils are the favorites. I don't think that's that bold to say Devils in 6.
It doesn't feel like it to a lot of Devils fans, but just from the predictions, I could see why people would pick the Devils over the Rangers. But again, it's going to be, to me, it's a coin flip. I still think that this, I think that this series could very well be a coin flip, just because of how
I agree
how these two teams are. Gaza says Devils are going down. Okay, thank you. I'm a big fan of Gaza. I'm really big fan of
Gaza's pretty funny.
Gaza's great. Seawall says, Neil, good podcast today, man. Are y'all going to do this format during the series? We might do some other stuff as the series goes on. We definitely, I think we'll do something when we kind of recap the series, however it goes, and kind of give our thoughts. I'm going to be live again here on the Hockey Podcast Network YouTube channel for every Devils game. in the playoffs. So that includes obviously every game of this first round series. It'll be mostly me, but I'll have people come on. If any of these three gentlemen want to come on for a period or so, they're more than welcome to jump on. It'll be a lot of fun. Go subscribe to the channel right here at Hockey Podnet. Also, do me a favor and go like and subscribe to the Rangers Ed podcast as well. Both wherever you can listen to the podcast as well as on YouTube also. But gentlemen, before we wrap it up, any closing thoughts?
I don't know, Neil. Like Cousin Ed said, I was going into this podcast a lot more confident than I am coming out after listening to you. But
I'm good. I'm good.
Nah,
I'm good at. I'm
nah,
good at.
you
Get
do your job very well.
In your future.
There you go.
You bring a lot of energy, and I think I've
Yeah.
said it on our past podcast, it's impossible to be mad at you with that always smiling over there. So we're gonna have a lot of fun.
I think it really irks Coach Ed. I think my smile really irks.
Nah,
if you played for Coach Ed, he'd be like, Neil, what are you smiling about? You're not supposed to be having fun.
Yeah, no. He would.
Don't forget to use promo code EDPOD23. And on last episode, I mentioned that Meg sent us a new flavor, the chocolate ganache. So I think we have a surprise because our Coach Ed's going to do a live cookie review for the new flavor for Megan.
All right,
Michelle,
we're gonna rip this baby open. I'm not sure.
Coach
What did Kathy say ganache was again?
Like a mousse, like a chocolate mousse. I don't know, whatever. But Coach wanted to mention that each cookie is vacuum sealed individually, so they definitely last a while and they stay fresh.
Okay,
so here we go.
Still soft. We've had it about what, almost 2 weeks?
I'd say so, close to 2 weeks. Yeah.
It's almost like a fudge brownie. It's delicious.
Would you recommend maybe putting it in the microwave for 5 seconds? Give it that little nice warm brownie feel?
That's not a bad idea. I might have to try that, but it's very good. Still soft.
Uh-huh.
Well, he's going to eat it before he tries it. So
how's the ice hockey skate look?
I was at a recent party where they had cookies from a local bakery similar to this. Was not vacuum sealed. Less than 2 days later, it was like biting into a brick.
See that? That is some review.
Great job, Meg, as usual.
So in comparison to the vanilla flavor or the butter flavor, I guess, which one would you prefer?
I'll go with the chocolate.
I like the chocolate. I like the chocolate and the cookie too. I agree.
I like the chocolate also.
It was delicious.
This is like a brownie. It's really good.
Yeah. And shout out to Meg and Michelle. They're gonna give it a shot to make me some zero sugar protein cookies. So
nice.
The Keto Guido, Nikki Baz and a goal can play some cookies too. Place an order for some cookies also. So I'll do a review on those maybe in a future episode.
He would definitely give me grief. There's no question.
Yeah.
Listen,
I'm just thankful, like between you and Sean with the Islanders podcast, it's just great that you guys have a good attitude, and it's nice to be involved with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Cuz?
Yeah, no, I mean, look, I like to talk smack with Devils fans. I feel like growing up, it was for me, growing up in Long Island, it was mostly the Devils fans that I was talking. You know, I didn't have the Islanders like Coach Ed did. The Islanders always kind of sucked, but so I just really hate the Devils. I really do. You know, I really want to sweep you guys, but it's nice to be able to sit down and have like an actual conversation. I know I try to poke at you a little bit throughout the pod, but I got a lot of respect for the Devils this year. Got a good squad. Yeah. You got a really fast team of puck hounds, a good young team. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. You know, I'm hoping
presence. That's one of my roller hockey buddies yelling, "That's my captain." What's up, Patty? Cap.
I appreciate we got some good people in here.
Yeah, thank you everyone for coming in. Sorry, cuz you could finish your thought.
No, I was just kind of just pontificating. So I'm done.
Pontificating,
but it's just I just hope it's a good series and the Rangers come out on top, and we'll see. We'll recap it. I don't know if you want me to join you live for these games. You have to ask my wife. I'm not really a fun person to be around during the
It's
game.
fair. Look, it's up to you. If you
I
want to
might
come on,
pop
great.
in
If
for
you
a
don't, you
period.
don't.
I'll
It's up
pop.
to you, Cut.
I'll try
Yeah.
to pop in for a period or something.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Me-
But
me-
again, and
Me,
then
Coach Ed, and Mikey will be in the same room, so we'll definitely hop on with you
Yeah,
for
we'll
a few
do that.
games, a few periods
Yeah,
at
love
least.
it.
awesome.
No
Awesome.
quit New
Well,
York.
guys, everybody,
Let's do it.
thank you so much for jumping on. We appreciate everybody, jumping on here on the live and asking questions,
so
giving their
much.
comments. This was phenomenal. Thank you to everybody who checked it out here on the YouTube page as well as Twitter at Devil State. Like I mentioned before, go like and subscribe to the Rangers Ed podcast. Arguably one of the best Rangers podcasts out there right now. Go also check them out on YouTube
Neil,
as
buddy.
well. As you can see, they got their own pretty sick merch. Gaza says, "Let's go Rangers." So we got some more at the end here. But also check out the Devil State of My podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. New episodes out every Monday and Thursday. So if you guys are listening to this, if you guys didn't check out the live, you can check it out on Monday. So you guys are probably listening to this and you can get the full on preview. Check us out on Instagram at Devil State of Mind. Also on Twitter at Devil State. And if you still happen to have a Facebook at this point in 2023, why don't you give us a like on Facebook as well? And like I mentioned before, don't forget to like and subscribe to the Hockey Podcast Network YouTube channel, where we are going to be doing a ton of live watch longs of a lot of the Stanley Cup playoff games. It's going to be a lot of fun. Seawall saying Rangers Ed for the win. Legend saying the gas. Okay. So he's got and then Gaza is definitely pumped up. So once
Love it.
again, everybody, thank you so
guys.
much for hanging out with us. And Devils Rangers round one, it's gonna be a fun one. So for Coach Ed, Little Ed, Cousin Ed, and myself, Neil Villapiano, we are signing
Good
off.
job.
And you know what, guys? We're in for one hell of a matchup, right?
My heart's going
Let's go
already,
Rangers.
baby. Let's
Is
go
it
Rangers.
Tuesday yet? Is it Tuesday yet? Let's
I
go.
know, right?
Oh, my God.
man.
All right.
It'll be a
Let's
long
go.
week. Let's go,
And I'll
baby.
finish it with "Let's go Devils."